West Tigers podcast episode number 343. We've got a rotating panel. Tonight we've got the boys that were missing in action, or two of the three of them that were missing in action Monday, Declan and Gary, joined by the one constant, which is me.
The only common denominator, mate.
Yes. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But Declan, what was your one word for their loss to the Storm?
I think my one word was moments, because we really did have our moments against the Storm. Like, it really honestly felt that there was another Shark situation where, we could have won the game, we could have really put a score on, but then just like moments of, where was that break from their 5/8, or, like Jerome Hughes going down the right side, just moments we just kind of let ourselves down and it just became too much.
Gary, your word?
Yeah, for me, it was missed opportunity. I thought we really had a chance to win that game, and through silly errors and a couple of times where we didn't take chances, I thought, we kind of threw that game away. Especially, we should have been leading at halftime, and to go in behind at halftime was a real disappointment, because I thought we were the better side in the first half for the majority of that half.
Avo's word was outcoached, and he clarified it for me. So thank you for that, Avo, because I was speculating on Monday night. Declan, he wasn't happy that Vartape was picked on the wing. He said short dropouts, we've got about a 9% success rate of getting them back, so why do we bother with them? Just inviting teams into our red zone from play one. And the fact that Heath Mason only played a few minutes. He said it was a winnable game and poor coaching cost us. Are there any of those points that you think are salient or the most salient?
I don't know, because Fatapi, I saw a lot of comments on Twitter about the fact that he should be picked. I suppose it's a little bit of like Monday quarterback coaching. Like, you got send Ben to everyone and say he wasn't going to get picked, but I don't really know who else to choose from. I mean, I know Leilua, Leilua, sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart there. Sorry, I think he's a really good young player, but he's also quite short and probably not great in there either. So you're probably going to give away a little bit of size there as well. So it was a little bit annoying, but I'm not sure. I just don't think there's much depth in the squad that they could have picked someone else. Maybe Charlie, but Charlie Sims on the other wing. But
me and Steve, Gary, we spoke about some of the turning points. One being the missed opportunity, which is your one word, which was Adam Dewey's break. You had a different viewpoint to, I think, the majority of us. You thought he bombed the try. Is that fair?
Yeah, I do think he should have been able to draw the fullback and get that pass away. I heard the conversation about he would have had a pass over his shoulder, but I do believe that he really should have actually committed the fullback to that tackle and got the pass away. If he hadn't tried to run around him, he wouldn't have had to throw over his shoulder. So, look, I don't think it was a bad missed opportunity, but on the back of games in the past where we've seen him go himself at times when he probably should have passed, then I think there's a bit of a pattern there, and I would have liked to have seen him ice that situation.
I think sometimes when you make an unexpected break, because he kind of just picked the ball up off the ground and nothing was really happening, and then he just kind of went through, so it was unexpected. And I think, like, from when I played footy and the few times I actually made open field past the line,
not too many line breaks, Declan.
Not too many line breaks, but just when you get through the line, you just kind of get like a rush, and like you're not really clearly thinking, and then you just kind of like play through it, because you managed to get that far, so you might as well back yourself to get through the fullback. And I tended to agree with Steve and Eddie. I think that Bula and Galvin, whether they were close enough, but I don't think they were quite in line with them. I think he would have had to bend his shoulders back to see where they were. So obviously it wasn't ideal that he lost the ball as well. I think that kind of compounded the error, but I'm not sure that the pass was as easy as just a drawing pass to the fullback to score under the post.
Fair enough. A bit later on, I've asked the boys to put together their 2025 ideal team from 1 to 17. I said they could throw in, a speculator or two in terms of a signing or someone they'd like to pick up off the scraps. So I've written down the list of off-contract players for 2024. There's not a whole lot there, but let's jump into a bit of buy, sell, and hold, Gary. Question one, Stefano's form has been affected by contract negotiations over the past few weeks. Buy or sell?
I'm probably going to sell that because I think he's shown over his time at the club, while he can have those really good games, that he is inconsistent. I think he was inconsistent last year, and I thought he started this season really well, was one of the form props in the competition, and then that kind of fell away. So I think his form, and in saying that, I will say that he is a young guy. He's young for a front rower, and having up and downs during his career isn't necessarily unexpected. It's more, some of those games almost look like a lack of effort, and that's probably the biggest issue I have with him at the moment. But I'm not willing to put that down to contract negotiations, because I think that's similar form to what he's shown throughout his time at the club.
Declan, a few years ago, if it came out in the papers that you were meeting with the opposition coach the morning after you played a team that's beaten you, like he would have been beaten to a pulp. But I guess these days it's just the reality of the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, but even this situation is quite strange because, like, the clauses in his contract effectively made him a free agent, at the back half of the season. But usually, you'd have someone who can talk November, so they have the whole preseason to kind of potentially get this out of the way. So just all in all, it's just not ideal, is it? It's just a terrible situation for the club to be in. A great situation for Stefano to be in, because he's got lots of flexibility about what he can do next, which isn't great for us. But I do kind of voice that frustration a little bit, because he came out before the Canberra game, said that it's been tough, how he's not sure what he's going to do. That didn't really sit well with me, because it was the day before a game, and now his manager just seems to be kind of talking to the journals, saying that this club is interested and this club's interested, and these clubs haven't ruled out making a play for him. So all in all, I just think it's just been a really distracting thing that I just hope it comes to an end at some point very soon.
Seems like the middle of the road sort of clubs, Gary, are dropping out of the race, whether they think he's not realistically looking at them. Potentially clubs that could offer more or the same amount of money as us in Canberra and St George Illawarra. Where do you think this ends up?
Look, no one really knows. The only people who probably have a good idea is Stefano and his family. I don't really expect him to be here next year, and I think if he is here next year, it's probably that he's just continued on the contract that he's on. I don't think between now and the end of the season we're going to see him extend at the Tigers. So that's probably the least likely outcome in my opinion. But I can't say where he's going to end up. I just don't know that he's that committed to staying here.
Well, if he does just extend for one more year or activate the option, I'm not sure if he actually can activate the option or.
Well, it's not an option. He's got a contract for next year. Like, there is a contract sitting there for next year. He's just got a clause that he can walk away from that contract at the end of the season. So, my understanding is he'd be fully entitled to stay on next year if he just decided to do that without an upgrade, because he's got a contract for next season.
But yeah, just in terms of how do we feel about that? If you just kind of kick the can down the road for another 12 months, are we happy? Are we a little bit frustrated? Or
I think isn't it a bit like the Galvin situation, Gary? You sort of back yourself in that 12 months that if you get Luai in the building, you start winning a few games, you start changing these young guys' mind. I think it's maybe not ideal, but it's a better situation than him picking up and leaving, isn't it?
Yeah, and if he does stay, we get him on that contract that he's on at this time. Like, it's not 800,000 or whatever it is for next year. It's whatever he's on for next year. So that's probably a benefit as well. And it probably does give us more time to show that we're moving forward. But man, it's hard as a supporter to look at a guy who's got a contract extension sitting in front of him and doesn't take it up to see, so he can have a look at what's available in 12 months' time. That's hard. That doesn't really sit right with me.
It's also a little bit frustrating because I just feel like the media are reporting on this as if he is a top 5 prop in the game at the moment. And, the reason there's all this kind of hype around him is because, he is one of those elite props, but he just hasn't really been playing like that. And I always want to keep him because I think he can become that. But just hearing, like Chamis on 100% footy kind of talking about how, like clubs are just kind of like launching themselves at him. And then to hear like guys like Riccio or the Daily Telegraph say how, like the Raiders were going to offer $1 million to him. And then 2 days later, they pulled any offer whatsoever. Like, it's just annoying just how this has been covered. And I don't think they've really reflected like his true market value. I think the media has done its job to try and inflate how much we should be paying him or another club potentially.
Well, and I think the biggest sign of that, Declan, is if you have a look at that New South Wales squad, I don't think there's any diehard supporters who would believe that he's unlucky to have missed out on playing State of Origin this year. His form just didn't warrant that. And if he's chasing those big dollars that are being reported, then the form that he's shown this year doesn't warrant that either. Because if you're paying 800 to $1 million that was rumoured for him, then you'd think he'd at least be in the conversation for State of Origin. I don't really think he was genuinely an option. I don't think anyone really expected to see him get picked this season.
Probably Declan, just almost for those journos, it's like there's the landscape at the moment. There's no good players off contract, so that's probably why they're hyping him up. I agree with what you're saying. He's not a top 5 prop, but you compare him to every other player off contract, he's probably the most high-profile player off contract.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just seems like his manager. Well, obviously his manager's doing it. He's probably just doing his job. But yeah, it's just a little bit frustrating because you hear, them talk about how like 800K is like when we initially offered that. Like I think the consensus amongst the journals was like, oh, thanks, but no thanks, because he's going to easily get more on the open market. But that just hasn't happened because we're not sure how much like the Dragons and the Raiders offered, and we're not sure how much the Storm offered, but wouldn't be more than 800K, I don't think. So yeah, it's just a little bit interesting and annoying because they can just kind of say what they like and there's not really any accountability for it. Meanwhile, we feel that market pressure to increase our offer because we're hearing all these things that, other clubs are going to pay $1 million for them. Like, it's just like another example of just agendas and media narrative which make it hard to run a footy club when you're at the bottom of the ladder.
Would either of you two consider increasing the offer to him?
Well, I was going to say, Gary, that might be the sort of compromise, I guess, that maybe he stays for another year and you upgrade him. I suppose that'd be him winning, you could say. But what do you reckon, Declan?
Yeah, I think that within reason, I would consider, just as Eddie said, just to give him that little bit of a victory in the negotiations, because sometimes that is important for parties to walk away from so they can finally agree. I think it also depends on Pauly's situation as well. I think now that he's playing really good footy, I think we need to be really careful about how much we give Steph, because now we need to factor in, we'll probably have to give Pauly a little bit more money as well in terms of an upgrade. So I think they're linked at the moment because I think Pauly's probably the one who's playing better footy at the moment and probably is the one that's kind of more suited to the modern game just because he's a little bit more dynamic in terms of getting around the park with a little bit more footwork. And I think that you look at those kind of, not small props, but those more mobile props these days are the ones that tend to, have the most impact on the game.
And Pauly's form's been improving the whole season. He was really strong on the weekend, but he's gradually been getting better pretty much week on, week out. There's been a few defensive issues, but his attacking game on the weekend and that footwork, and which led to the try he scored, but his footwork at the line is outstanding. So we definitely can't sleep on him. We can't afford to put all our eggs in Steph's basket because we can't afford to lose Pauly.
All right, Declan, question 2. This might give up a little bit of your 2025 team, but Luke Lilly should be a first-choice winger for the 2025. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy that. I think that outside backs and wingers, you can, throw them into the deep end a little bit younger because there's not as much pressure on them in terms of defensive decisions, because usually as a winger you have to kind of follow what the chain's already done, and he's already showed that he's a really confident player. He brings that yardage game as well that we've been talking about for a while, and I think another preseason, hopefully he adds a little bit more size. He's harder to tackle. I think I could seriously see him being the round one winger.
And I think the fact that they upgraded him to a top 30 contract today for the rest of the season, I think that's quite telling of where the club kind of sees him. And the fact that he debuted like a week after he turned 18. So the club obviously has a high regard for him, and that upgrade today just confirmed that. So he's at least going to be in the mix at the start of next season, I think.
I was going to mention that. I had that in my notes that both him and his brother Kit have been given top 30 spots for 2025 and 2026. Question 3, Gary. Fatape Fatape should be given a top 30 spot for 2025. Buy or sell?
I'm probably selling that at this point. I don't think he's quite earned it. I thought his form early in the season was quite strong. The move to the wing hasn't done him any favors. I thought he's really struggled there. Look, the issue we have is we don't have a lot of top 30 spots moving into next season. And if we want to upgrade our squad, we need to keep some of those open. And I don't think we can afford to give Fatape a top 30 position at this point in time.
Interesting, Declan. He's actually, I mean, he's not in the top 30 this year. I didn't know that. He's on a development contract.
Yeah. Look, I kind of tend to agree with Gary. I just not, like, I think he'd be like an all right squad player to give him a contract, but I think like top 30 spots are quite limited, and you know, I'd be happy for him to kind of like continue in the kind of training trial development deal that he's on at the moment, you know, because I do think he does have that utility value as someone who can come in when like other players are injured, but I just haven't seen enough to warrant him, you know, us prioritizing keeping him.
Declan, question 4. We should be, after 3 strong games, we should be looking at tying up Adam Doueihi long term. Buy or sell?
I have a little bit more context to the question.
Well, he's off contract
47 years.
2025. So would you be looking to potentially sign him for a long-term deal, which is 3 years or more?
Yeah, I think I would. I think, like, obviously, there's lots of factors that have to go into that negotiation. You know, is he happy to play centre? If he is happy to play centre and he's in good form, then yeah, I wouldn't be against signing him long term, because you know he's a local junior, he's got talent, he's a genuine first grader. Yes, he's not a State of Origin rep, but I think he's definitely someone who's like definitely someone who could play like consistent first grade week in week out if he just plays injury free. So yeah, I'll definitely consider that, but only if he wanted to play centre.
Got a presence in our backline, Gary. That's what I've noticed since he's come back, and I didn't feel he had that in the halves. Maybe it's just our lack of overall talent in the backs, but I just feel like, I think Steve mentioned on Monday that, you know, a couple of times we skinned him out wide, and potentially, you know, teams having to focus a little bit on Adam Doueihi and the running threat that he provides could create a little bit more extra space in our backline movements.
Yeah, the big thing with Adam is I didn't see him coming back with the form that he's come back with. He's playing much better football than I expected. The big one is he's a lot faster than he was pre-injury. I don't know whether they've done a better job with the reconstruction this time, or whether it's the bit of weight that he's actually lost and he's playing a little bit lighter now. I don't know what it is, but he is much quicker than he was before. Like when he took the wrong option and tried to go around Pappenhausen on the weekend, he was a chance of actually going around him. So I don't think I would have ever considered him to be a guy that could do that in the past. And even the intercept he took in his game back, I remember him playing at Parramatta one day, and he picked up a ball from a kick through on our own try line, and he had no chance of going the distance to score. So the speed is definitely a lot better than it has been. I would still like to wait just a little bit to see how he goes with coming back from that injury. I know he's hit the ground running, but I want to, like, there's 3 ACL injuries he's actually running on at the moment, and I just want to make sure that that's okay. But as Declan said, if he's happy to play centre, then he's in the top 2 centres in our club easily. So I'll be happy to have him in our squad moving forward as a centre. I don't really want to see him playing anywhere else, but as a centre, most definitely.
Last one, Declan. The lack of signings or squad news outside of Luai and Taruva over the past 6 weeks is a concern heading into 2025. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm going to buy that because, yeah, we heard rumors a few months ago that we had signed, not signing, we had signed an English player. And yeah, just absolute crickets from that perspective. And then there was talk as well that we're actually going to sign players to bring into the top 30 to end the season, which was really refreshing to hear because we always just seem to do exactly what we've done now and just kind of upgrade someone who's already in the top 30 next year. So it's a little bit of a doesn't really matter because I think just to fill in the spot for a technicality. So I think that's a little bit concerning. But to be fair to the club, the Taruva signing came out of nowhere for us. Like we never really heard anything about it. So like I can't really sit here and say that we're not going to sign anyone because we could sign someone tomorrow. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit concerning because the squad does need a little bit of rejuvenation. Because yeah, I think we like Luai and Taruva, I think they'll be good signings, but or great signings, but I'm just like there's still more to be done in terms of like turning around the squad.
Yeah, they're definitely not enough on their own to get us into that top eight, especially if it's looking like Steph's not going to be here next year. So there definitely needs to be some upgrading of the squad. The other thing I do find a little bit worrying is there hasn't been a lot of news on those players we're looking at moving as well. So those guys that apparently were trying to shop around, the last we heard on both of them is that they didn't want to leave. And for me, I'd like to hear a little bit of news that there's going to be some more space in our roster to bring some players in because we're getting rid of a couple of guys as well.
I mean, I suppose if you look at the bright side, the Tigers usually do their best signings in the off season when we're not playing. So teams aren't like our respective players aren't put off by the performance on the field, and we managed to actually get a little bit done. So maybe that's something to take a little bit of positivity from.
2025, boys, it's not that far away. Gary, how about you run through your ideal 1 to 5, and then we can get Declan to respond.
How about we get Declan to go first? Because I was having dinner when you sent that text message.
I did give you 11 minutes of notice.
I know you gave me 11 minutes of notice, and I didn't actually see it until we jumped on. So I'll listen to Declan's, and then I'll argue with Declan.
Declan, who's the 1 to 5 starters next year?
Well, since Eddie gave me 11 minutes and I'm a consummate professional, I just dropped everything I was doing.
Yeah, you didn't have dinner, Declan.
Yeah. So obviously, fullback, or maybe not obviously, with Eddie here, Dream Buller. I think that one's pretty safe.
I think Eddie's got Taruva in there. Is that right, Eddie?
I don't know. I'm happy with Buller, Gary. I like Buller.
This week. He was pretty good on the weekend.
New evidence has presented itself. So, yeah. Right. And then on the wing, and sorry, I pronounced his name wrong in the start of the show, but yeah, Luke Lauleli. I think as we talked about, I think that he can really kind of cement his spot early on. And then I had Justin Olam for one centre spot, but the game on the weekend was a real cause for concern. So I did have a look at the off contract, and I think that someone who could provide a little bit of value, still young, Tessie New from the Dolphins. Every time I see him play, I think he's a classy player, like maybe not a rep level player, but like a good centre. And then
you've been interested. You've mentioned him a few times over the last couple of years, so you've been keeping an eye on him.
Yeah. I think when he moved from the Dolphins, like to the Dolphins, and he played a little bit of fullback for them, it wasn't really working. But I think centres is like actual position that he can establish himself in. So I think with Olam's knee, I just think, and there was rumours as well going online that he might be considering medical retirement. Obviously, that's just, we can't confirm that. But yeah, just like a little thing to keep in mind. And then obviously Adam Dewey and then Taruva on the other wing.
Seemed like, maybe one wing spot, Gary, that's sort of up for grabs. Other than that, that was probably my 1 to 5.
Yeah, I think especially the emergence of Adam Dewey the last couple of weeks, I think before he came back, I would have definitely been looking for another centre. I'm going to keep Olam in there. I've heard the rumours about the medical retirement as well, but gosh, that would be a bad kind of situation. We get a guy for 1 year, and
weird, Gary. Really, like we were talking about this when he signed. Like,
yep.
I
It was
know
my
he's
concern.
playing
It was
well when
your
he's on the
concern.
field, but the longer this sort of goes on, like I just can't see him at the moment stringing more than a game. At the end of each game, he looks like he's just limping. He's cooked.
Yeah, look, I think it's what we discussed all off season about it, and really, if that ends up being the case, it makes that decision to the Bloor Olin swap look really poor in hindsight, and probably not just in hindsight.
Is there any other? I had a look at the off-contract players, Declan. There was Remus Smith from Melbourne, and I think it's Sammy Valame from the Cowboys. Are they up to Tessie News standard, do you think?
Yeah, I think Remus Smith he's a good player. I wouldn't mind him. And Valame, I haven't really seen a lot of him, but he put some good games for the Raiders, and then we moved to the Cowboys. He seems to have had some good games as well. So yeah, I wouldn't really say no to any of those guys. I think depth as well in the outside backs is something we should prioritize in the off season. But yeah, I think those three are all good names.
I assume we've all got Galvin and Luai as the halves. Gary, is there anything what did you say out of that combination that you're most concerned about?
It's definitely whether Luai can make that transition from being that six to being the halfback, and doing that at a struggling club. I think his form over the past 6-7 weeks has been really strong for Penrith. I love the way he's been attacking in that halfback role, but whether he can do that at a club that doesn't have Asai Yo playing in it and doesn't have that support that he gets from such a great ball playing lock who at times plays like a halfback anyway, that's probably the biggest question marks over it for me. I'm hopeful he can make that transition, and we need him to, because he really does need to be the dominant half with a young Lachlan Galvin playing outside him.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't really have any hesitation or concern that Luai is going to play well for us. I think that he's shown at Penrith that the more responsibility you give him, the better he can play. Now, as Gary said, we don't really have the ensemble or supporting cast that Penrith do, but I'm pretty sure as his usage goes up, like he'll improve. My main concern for this half combination is who's going to play predominantly on the right edge, because you've got Luai, who's obviously played in that famous Penrith left edge, and then Galvin as well, who's he's went to that left edge more often than not. So who's going to be the one that's going to have to sacrifice to then play on the right? I think that's the big question for us, because I think they've tried, Dream Buller even doing a little bit of playmaking from that right side, and just hasn't. Like, I think it's looked a little bit better towards the last few rounds, but yeah, I think it's still a bit of a cause for concern for us going into next year.
I don't know. What's it considered? Is it considered easier to play on the left, Declan? Because passing right to left is easier, but I mean, given Luai's a left foot kicker and Galvin's a right foot kicker, wouldn't it make sense to have Galvin on the right?
I mean, yeah, but it begs the question: wouldn't he be playing more fully there now? Because Aiden Caesar, he's also a left side player. Because when Galvin was suspended, he scored, he predominantly played on the left side as well. So yeah, I'm sure it's not a huge concern. I'm sure they'll work out in the preseason, but yeah, it's just something that I'll be looking at come the trials next year.
All right, Declan, give us your starting pack, and Gary can respond to it.
Okay, so I'm going under the presumption that Stefano is going to stay. That might be a bit bold of me, and
That's
not sure
very
well
bold, mate.
Yeah.
Do you think that's likely?
Well, I don't know. I just
think
think
it's 50-50, Gary. I wouldn't want to bet on it either way at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's lots of posturing at the moment. If he was going to sign with the Storm, if he was hell bent on signing with the Storm, I think it would have happened by now. I think that he's probably just pondering if he wants to leave Sydney, which is good for us. And there doesn't really seem to be any other strong Sydney contenders. I think the Eels were kind of mentioned a little bit, but yeah, I'm not sure if they need another expensive forward in their pack. So we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, I'm going to work under the presumption that he's going to be here next year, and then obviously Api Coruscant, Pole, Bateman, Fainu, Samuela Fainu at 12, and at number 13, I had a big problem filling this spot because I haven't really been impressed with Justin Manamua the last few games. I think that he does well as that linkage 13, but in terms of his carries and his defence in general, I think he's still got a little bit of development to go.
And he's playing nowhere near enough time if he's playing in that role. I don't think that's a role you really should be sharing 50-50, which is what we've been doing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I looked at the off-contract players. I couldn't really see anyone that took my fancy. So I'm going to throw in Dione Fainu at 13. I think that he's someone with the late footwork. He can test people in that kind of traditional lock head up after the props because he's got that footwork. And he's also got a bit of a pass on him as well. But obviously, long term, I would like to strengthen that position another way. But I think for next year, I think he could be a good shout for the 13 jersey.
The real issue I have is that 13 has been a problem for a long time now. And Matamua was seen as the next thing coming through. I do agree, Declan. His link work has been fantastic. I think our attack looks best when he's in that 13 role and pushing our halves a little wider. I think that's when we look our best attacking. You are right. The carries aren't there, and there's been some awful efforts in defence from him the last couple of weeks as well. I would love for him to take that role, but we've got to get that 13 sorted out. We may have to find someone who from a club who isn't off contract, because this has been a problem for too long, and we really need a good ball-playing number 13 that we can. I don't know where we're going to get him, but
I think that's Pole's a prop. Do you think, Gary? Even though he started at lock on the team sheet on the weekend, whether he actually played the lock role.
If you have a look on the weekend, I thought Bateman did most of that link work at the start of the game. Not Bateman, sorry. Clemmer did most of that link work at the start of the game. And I thought he was playing more that traditional lock sort of, well, not traditional, but that modern day lock sort of role. So, I don't know whether that was the plan for him to do that, but he was doing a lot of that link work.
Well, what about young Kit Lilly? I've only seen a couple of reserve grade games, but the one or two games I saw, I thought he was strong and could play that link role a little bit. I know at reserve grade level. Declan?
Yeah, I do think long term that he could be the answer. But yeah, just some of the Raiders game when he came off the bench, I think he's got the talent. He's a bit raw at the moment. I think defensively, he's still got a little bit to work on. So for next year for him, I would like to see him nail down a bench spot first and then transition from there.
Yeah, he's very young.
Yeah. But in terms of long-term potential, I think that he's definitely got it because he kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Jazz Savanga kind of forward, like a little bit undersized but stocky and with that fast footwork and is quite quick. So yeah, I definitely see starting potential for him, but I'm just not sure it will be at the start of next year.
He was one of the off-contract names, Declan, at the Warriors, Jazz Tavanga. Not much else around. I saw Ewan Akins off contract the Dolphins, but he's been predominantly sort of back row centre. Not a whole lot around. Rather than, I don't know if you've named a whole bench, Declan. Have you named a bench or not?
Not yet. Good you're listening, though.
I was just going to say one of the disappointments from this season is really gathering no information on Latu Fainu. Where do you see him fitting in next year?
Look, I'm still really high on Latu Fainu. I think that he just needs to get his hamstring right, and once he plays a little bit more on the field, then I think the rest will take care of itself because he's a really good player. And injuries happen, as we found out this season, because we had so many halves, but we've kind of went through all of them. So I'm sure that he'll bounce back next year, and I just hope he stays injury free. And also, with the Galvin situation as well, and how that's still up in the air in terms of his long-term future, you'd be crazy to let Fainu go, wouldn't you? Because he's a talented young player, and although Galvin's kind of said he's here for the short to medium term, I'm not confident at all that we're not going to hear more about that story going into next year.
Did Fainu end up playing reserve grade on the weekend?
Yeah, I think he played 40 minutes. So he was on a minutes restriction, he started the year in, so that's not great. But yeah, we just have to hope that he gets on top of the hamstring injuries.
All right, boys, it is time to play my new favourite game. Start, sit, or sell. I've got 3 of them this week, just 3. So it's like a truncated edition. We'll give this one to Declan to start with. 3 ex-Tigers wingers. You got to start one, sit one, and sell one. I've got Bo Ryan, David Nofaluma, and Taniela Tuiaki.
All right, this one's easy. I'm gonna start Taniela Tuaki. He's a little bit of a legend on the rugby league community online because you always see posts of him and like what could have been because he was a great player. And it sucks what happened to him. But he was just a monster. A little bit before his time as well in terms of those Georges fingers. And then obviously I'm gonna bench Bo Ryan because he wasn't like an elite winger, but he was like sneaky talented. I felt like he kind of had a lot of success in those kind of years when we played semi-finals. And plus for the vibes as well, someone good to have in the locker room. And I'm gonna sell David Nofaluma because although he had lots of potential when he was younger, a little bit like Luke Lilly right now, it never really amounted to anything and it ended quite ugly.
Any disagreement with those?
I'd take 2015 David Nofaluma over Bo Ryan. But outside, but I can't really disagree with anything Declan said.
Gary, you've got the horror one here.
Of course I have.
It's Terry Lamb, Ivan Cleary, and Jason Taylor.
I've got to. Really?
The rules, yeah.
I've got to start Ivan Cleary because he's at least shown he can coach. I don't like what he did to our club, but I don't like what the other two did to our club either. I'm going to sit Jason Taylor and I'll sell Terry Lamb, but none of them were good for our club.
Declan, I don't think you were alive when Terry Lamb was a coach, but he was not good. The last one, Declan, you're probably the man to answer this one. The three off-season, not off-season sports, but other sports on at the moment. You've got the Euro soccer, AFL, and rugby union.
As a rugby old boy, I'm going to start rugby. I'm going to bench the Euros because Scotland aren't playing anymore, and then I'm going to punt the AFL because I genuinely don't know anything about Aussie rules at all. Like, shockingly little.
You want to go down the park with a loaf of bread and throw up some bread around 30 pigeons. That's like AFL. So that's
okay.
AFL. Gary?
Man, that was a riveting segment, Eddie. Like, I hope people are still listening after it.
Time for the quiz. No, it's not time for the quiz. It's time to preview the game. We've got a game this week, unfortunately. Gary, we're playing the Sharks.
We are playing the Sharks Friday night down at Cronulla.
Horrible Shark Park, and you won't be out there, will you?
I definitely won't be out there.
Really? Wow.
Capacity crowd of about 4,000 at the moment, Shark Park. So it's a sellout, I think. 4,000 people. Gary, we've got an actual good record against the Sharks. We've got a winning record, which surprises me because the last 10 years we've barely beat them. I know we beat them earlier in the year, 32-6, but we've 19 wins, 17 losses, 8 wins from 16 at Shark Park, which is not too bad. But let's talk just the team changes, the main ones. Alex Lobb comes onto the wing with Tape going to centre with Justin Olam out. Do you like that or not?
I think it's Fatape's best opportunity to put the right foot forward. I don't think he should be playing on the wing. He's much better suited to playing centre. And I don't really, there's not a lot of other options there. So I'm okay for him to be playing centre. It's interesting to see Lobb get another go. I do like his height. So that's a benefit. At least gives us a little bit of a target out wide because we've been quite short in the wingers for most of the season. So, I'm happy to see him get another go.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see if Adam Doueihi stays on the right side because Tape, when he came through at East Tigers, was a dominant left centre. And then to start the year he had to play on the right. And he never looked 100% confident and comfortable. So it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like in first grade on his preferred side.
Boys, not too much else happening. Ruben Porter is named at 17. Stafford Toa named at 20, Gary. That could be interesting because we've seen absolutely nothing from him this year through injury. Would you prefer him to Fatape?
Probably in a couple of weeks' time, yeah. Like to see him come back nice and slow though from injury. So
He's been nice and slow from injury this year coming back.
no, he's been out for a long time. Um, look, no matter what, he's not a world beater either. I don't. He's not the guy you want as your starting centre week in week out through the season. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm quite happy to see Fatafe get a run this weekend.
All right, Declan. Sharks, I don't know if I can cop the Sharks. Like, they're coming first for most of the year, and I'm watching them play the last month. They look dreadful. Missing Nico Hines and Talakai, so two of their more impactful players. Like, this is surely a winnable game.
Yeah, this is definitely a winnable game. But then the Sharks went down to the Storm and beat them at home. So they're just an odd team. And I think playing at home, it's a strange crowd, Shark Park. So I don't think it will be easy by any stretch. But yeah, it's definitely a game that we should be competing to win. And I think that if we put our best foot forward, I think that we should be a good chance to beat them, especially since Hines isn't playing. And we also beat them at the start of the year as well. And like a ground where we seem to play much better than we do anywhere else. So I don't know, maybe that'll balance itself out here. But yeah, I would be disappointed if we weren't at least competitive in this game.
I think we're a real shot this weekend. The Sharks are a team you just can't trust. Like every week when you're putting your tips in, like you just don't know what you're going to get from them. And I don't think they handle pressure well, especially when Nico Hines is playing. Now he's out. But I don't think they're a team that handles pressure really well. And when things start to go wrong, I don't know that they have the ability to recover from it. So I'd be expecting us to win this game. I'd hope our side's going in expecting to win this game, because I do agree it's a very, very winnable game. We've got to match them in the forwards because they do have some big guys who run the ball hard. But I give us a real shot this weekend.
Are we a team that you can trust, Gary? Just from your statement.
I never tip us in my tipping comp, because even when I think we're going to win, because you just don't know what you're going to get. But for a side that's has led the comp for most of the season, I don't think anyone going into any game has been that confident that they're going to get away with a win, the Sharks. So, but yeah, we're not a side you can trust, Declan. No.
That's interesting, because you tip us on the pod all the time. Now you're saying that you double down.
There's money on my tipping comp, Declan. So
yeah, okay, there you go. The truth has come out.
Prediction time, boys. I'm predicting. I've got a bad feeling, Gary, it's going to be a meltdown sort of game, this one.
Okay, I'm blocking you on Facebook right now.
Bad feeling something's going to happen with like either the referees or our performance. I just got that horrible feeling it's going to be 4 degrees and raining at Shark Park. And
so which would you prefer, us lose because of referees or that we have a shocking performance?
Well, I'd prefer, I guess, we lose because of the referees, because it means we've actually competed in the game over a shocking performance. But that Shark Park we haven't won there in 10 years. And I was actually out there last time.
That means we're due, Eddie. That just means we're due.
Well, we're due to make the top 8 as well, Gary. That hasn't happened. So, Declan, I'm going to go 20 points to 15, the Sharks.
I'm going to tap the Tigers.
Where's the field goal coming in?
You're going to be in front, and then they're going to score off the short kickoff. It's going to be some horrible thing that happens.
I'm going to tap the Tigers here. I'm going to go 20 points to 8.
Wow, that's optimistic, Gary.
That man, our defense is going to be really strong. I'm going to go 20 to 16. The Tigers get up.
All right, boys, time for the quiz. Question 1. What colour number did we, as in the West Tigers, wear in round 5, 2007 against the Sharks at Campbelltown? We wore our standard home jersey. Which colour numbers on the back? Was it A, white, B, pink, C, orange, or D, black? Declan?
Was it pink?
Gary?
I'm going to go white, and it was a time we didn't have the black lettering around it, and you could barely see it on the jersey.
Pink, Declan. There's something sprung in your mind there where you were 2 years old or whatever, you watched that game. You wore pink numbers in support for the Breast Cancer Foundation, and it was also our first Golden Point win. Question number 2. Hassan Saylor, back in the day a bit, played 30 games for West Tigers from 2001 and 2002, and he debuted against the West Tigers in both his first games for St George Illawarra and Cronulla. Is that true or false? Gary?
True.
Declan, you're going to stick with Gary?
False. I'm going to go false.
True. It's true. He debuted in round 1, 2003. Dragons debut, and then Sharks debut was round 1, 2004. We won both those games, so he didn't make a difference for the opposition. Question 3. Out of the 23 one-time appearance players for the joint venture, how many debuted in a win out of 23, Declan? We played just one game.
I have no idea. Can you please repeat the question?
No, I can't. You just got to guess. Out of 23, how many players?
5.
Gary?
I'll go 6.
It was 6. Big names on this list, boys. If you can remember any of these guys playing for the West Tigers, you're better than me. David Gower, Pat Politini, Jared Farlow, Nathan Brown, I remember him, Jerry Marshall King, and Jordan Miller. So there's a few there, I remember.
How did we let go of Nathan Brown?
Question 4. Name the 4 West Tigers players who were part of our entire 2005 squad that played for the Sharks at any point in their career.
Bryce Gibbs.
Yep.
Heinington
Yep.
and Andrew.
Ryan.
Wait,
No, not for Feeder. It's 2005. They had to be in the West Tigers squad. Fast winger who played a few games that year, didn't play in the finals. And a centre. Matthew Reek and Dean Collis. Right, last one. Who am I? I was born in Christchurch in 1991. I joined the Canberra Raiders in the inaugural season of the NYC. That was 2008. Making 64 appearances. In 2012, I finally made my NRL debut, the Raiders. Played 19 games in 3 years. I then went to play 8 games with the Roosters. I switched to the Sharks, playing 2 games in their maiden premiership season. I finally landed at the West Tigers and made 27 appearances, scoring 2 tries. I was part of a player switch with a club legend in my second season. My final club was with the Eels. I believe he was a hooker. Bench hooker.
Matt McCarrick?
Yes. Correct.
Yep.
Well done, Declan. Involved in a player switch with Robbie Farah that brought Robbie Farah back to us and took him to Souths. I can't say I remember too many of his 27 appearances, Gary, but
No, not many at all.
All right, boys. Well, I won't be on the weekend, given I predicted it's going to be a meltdown this game.
Yeah, but surely that's Friday night. Surely you'll be over it by Sunday evening.
Well, Joel needs to come back. To be fair, Joel wanted to do Sunday night. None of us were available, so.
But where has he been?
Sunday. Well, he was available Sunday. Just none of us.
He was. He said we'll do Monday, and then just crickets from him on Monday.
You'll be back Sunday. I won't be back, guys. So enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next season.
Next season.
Hey, boys.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah.